Does free trade help or hurt our economy? To answer that question, the answer is obvious. What's more natural than a free market? And why should it stop at our nation's borders? And who is the government to tell me who I can trade with? But my good friend and neighbor, Lou Dobbs, doesn't exactly see it the same way. He's the host of Lou Dobbs Radio on United Stations Radio Network, joining us today from our beloved home state of New Jersey, right there in front of his beautiful farmhouse. On the other side of the issue is another great mind and my friend Tom Palmer, senior fellow at the Cato Institute and vice president at the Atlas Economic Research Foundation, who joins us from our Fox D.C. bureau. Lou, to you first, in beautiful, bucolic Sussex County, New Jersey. If a car manufacturer in the United States of America can buy parts cheaper in China and Mexico, and therefore sell a car cheaper to Americans in New Jersey and Michigan, why shouldn't he be able to do it?
Well, I think there's no problem with doing that, but if we're going to do that, let's make certain that we're talking really about free trade, Judge, because what we have now is managed trade. It's managed trade on the part of the European Union. It is managed trade on the part of China, for example, and frankly, that doesn't even begin to approach free trade. The ideal is something we all embrace, but it is time for Americans to understand that their elites have more than disappointed. They have actually tried to betray the very idea of the American dream by reducing the middle class to peons in some cases, trying to put them in a race to the bottom in competition with the cheapest labor in the world.
But Lou, if you had your druthers,
and so does Tom.
If you had your druthers, Lou, would you make Americans buy American, or would you let them buy, trade, and sell however, wherever, and with whomever they pleased?
I would take the latter course, and in our transition to that utopian world, Judge, what I would druther is that American corporations, their leadership, made a commitment to the country that birthed them, and make certain that they took seriously their responsibilities to the community, to the nation, to their employees. We have watched contracts be torn to pieces, social contracts, for over the last 30 years. It is time to repair them.
Tom Palmer, does the government even understand basic economics 101 when it won't let me contract with, trade with, buy from, sell to whomever I choose to do that with?
I think the big problem is they don't understand that trade is mutually beneficial. That's why people engage in trade, because both parties benefit from it. I'm happy to hear Lou claim to be a free trader, but the fact is, in his book, which I read, he calls for all kinds of restrictions on your ability and my ability to engage in simple exchange and contract across borders. So the reality is, he has called for a lot of measures that are in contradiction with his claim to be in favor of free trade.
Tell us how, Tom, tell us how free trade...
Wow. Could I, wait, Judge, could I just ask Tom to name one
the restrictions on the ability to purchase services abroad.
Go ahead, Tom.
You have a number of claims in the book. In your book, you say that corporations that purchase services from abroad should be punished for doing so, that there should be special taxes placed on them. And we just heard you say,
no,
Lou,
I don't say that.
By
the way, I've written 3 books.
Hang on, Lou. I'll let you answer.
Not in a single one do I say that.
Tom, what are the advantages? What are the advantages, Tom, of free trade? What are the advantages to governments? What are the advantages to freedom? What are the advantages to individuals?
Well, let's look at it from the perspective of governments. It makes the society wealthier if that society has free trade. That means you're better able to have good relations with your neighbors, and you're more able to defend your country. A wealthier country is more secure. So from that perspective, it's in the interest of the nation, the interest even of the government. From the individual perspective, I benefit if I buy a T-shirt that's made in India or Sri Lanka. Lou points out repeatedly, says, oh, for a couple cheaper T-shirts. Well, I do like paying less money for my clothes, and it's none of his business who I buy my T-shirts from. For the community, it's also beneficial because it allows people to specialize in what they do best, adding value. You know, my iPhone says on the back, manufactured in China, but they're smart to say designed in California. That's where the huge bulk of the value was added, was California.
All right, Lou, is free trade,
slapped the pieces together.
Is free trade a utopian ideal, something that can't really exist? or can it ever happen? And are you in favor of it?
I think that, first of all, is it utopian? Absolutely. It's an ideal that is not even remotely proximate now, and Tom knows that. And furthermore, just look around. 35 million people in this country are unemployed, underemployed. We are watching wages stagnate in this country over a 3-decade period. That happens to coincide with 35 consecutive years of trade deficits. And we've got lunatics running around saying that we should continue to bankrupt this nation and absolutely impoverish our working men and women. This is nuts. It is pure baloney, and it has to be recognized as such by policymakers, lawmakers in Washington, who for a long time now have been acting as though if they just made Mr. Market smile, they would have taken care of their duty and obligations to the American public.
Tom, we have about 30 seconds.
That is pure hogwash.
Tom, we have about 30 seconds. Tom, hang on, Tom. Is there a national security implication to free trade?
Absolutely. And the reason is countries that trade together generally do not go to war. In fact, peace is related even to the volume of trade. If you want a peaceful world, you want free war.
Tom Palmer, Lou Dobbs, thanks
very much. Take a look
at
at the trade relationship between Japan and Germany before World War II.
Go ahead, Tom.
And look at the protectionism that preceded it.
All right.
That was a period of rising protectionism, and Lou, you ought to know that. In fact, let me just point out one of the big mistakes in your mistake.
I do know that. And
we are buying most of our goods from other countries.
All right.
Your book is full of one mistake after another.
You have created a dependent
nation.
I hope you're happy.
Got it, guys. Thanks very much.
I'm happy to be in the
I'll tell you
country
what,
in the world.
I'm very happy that the two of you have disagreed so agreeably.